Thanks for joining me here at The Bridal Stylist. Today's look is going to be a party pony with a little twist. So instead of it being a messy party pony, really high, we're actually going to bring it down a little bit and create, I would say, like a glam pony, which is very popular in today's bridal styling. And so something that I think it's really important to master and then have in your arsenal of talents. So this gal's hair, we've met her before, super generous amount of hair. She has lots and lots of hair. So let's talk about that first, because when we're creating ponytails and we're working with different types of hair, one thing that's really important is to set ourselves up for success. So what does that mean? Well, if somebody has really fine hair and it's on the thinner side, low density, then highly recommend never creating this look without extensions. Extensions are going to give you that fullness. They're going to give you that hold for the curl in the ponytail. And so you really want to reiterate multiple times and communicate with your client that extensions are going to be vital in order to have success with this glam pony. Now, on the flip side, if your bride has a high density amount of hair, so very thick, maybe even a little bit coarser hair, this hair here is between medium and coarse, definitely has a lot more hold and control, and then obviously there's a lot of it. So with that being said, we want to distribute weight. So we don't want to grab all of this hair and then just smack it on the back of the head, because there's two things that can happen. One, it could create uncomfortability for your bride. We don't want them to have a headache or to feel uncomfortable, feel like it's too heavy, or feel like they have to hold themselves like a robot throughout the day because they're scared to move. The second thing that we want to avoid, or the second thing that distributing the weight will help us with, is gravity. If we are securing all of this hair right smack in the back of the head, then sometimes that ponytail might slip. And it doesn't matter how tight you do that. How tight the ponytail is may create more of a headache and uncomfortability for your client. So you're kind of teeter-tottering on which is the best way to go. Do I make it really tight and hurt their head so that it holds, or do I make it a little bit looser and then I risk gravity kind of pulling it down and making my party pony a little bit of a droopy pony? So you get what I'm saying. So today's technique is going to help us distribute weight and also hold so gravity does not pull our ponytail down, but also distributing that weight is going to relieve our bride from any type of headaches or discomfort. Okay, so let's talk about prep for this style. First things first is you just want to really smooth out that hair and get all of those tangles out. Now, she has a lot of hair and it tends to get tangly really fast. So it does require some patience on my end to just rework the hair, constantly go in and rebrush the hair, recomb the hair, detangle the hair, so on and so forth. Okay, so once we do that, then we kind of want to map out what we're looking at in terms of this look. So with this gal here, today's ponytail is going to be utilizing a center part. Now, this is her natural part, so it's already there in place, but you want to communicate that with your bride up front right away. Where do you want your part to sit? Now, the next thing that you want to ask in terms of consultation type questions is, how high or low do you want your pony to sit? We're going to put the pony just right directly across from the tip of the ear. So it's going to set right above that nape section before the shape of the head starts changing and swooping into the neckline. So we're going to put it just right about there. That's going to give us really nice fluffiness here, but you want to be sure to ask your bride about that too, because they might want it just an inch or so higher, or they might want it lower. Now, lower or higher does change the aesthetic of your overall look. So communicate that with them. And then also, it doesn't hurt to hand them a mirror and then kind of just map out that in your hand, just like I'm doing now. Do you like your ponytail here? Do you like it down here? Do you want it up a little bit higher? Face framing. How much hair do we want around the face, or do you want all of the hair pulled up around the face? She has a little bit of face framing long layers here. So these strands here, this fringe area, this will be a little bit heavy. So something you can communicate as well is how much hair do you actually want down around the face? And do you want to trim these and make them a little bit shorter, or do we want to go with slicking it all the way back and not having any hair down around the face? So I think for today's look, we'll be pulling all of the hair back and giving it that really, really sleek glam ponytail that we're seeing trending right now. That's pretty much it in terms of explaining what we're doing. So let's just jump into our artistry and get this glam pony created. We need to do a little bit of prep work just right through here and start styling. Now, I don't need to do any type of blowout work with her because I'm happy with my shape right now. And because I'm going for a sleeker ponytail, I'm actually going to not do any type of crimping either. What I am going to do is start adding in some spray wax through here to start defrizzing and start smoothing this out in order to be creating that shape that I really want. All right, so the spray wax that I'm going to be using right now is Wax Blast. It's just spray wax from Redken. So I'll be utilizing that during the creation of the style. I'll also be using my handy dandy volume powder. And I do have some smoothing cream here just in case. We'll just kind of see how this plays out to decide if we want to add in smoothing cream on top of the wax spray. The wax spray is going to give me shine. It's going to give me hold, and it's also going to help me control frizz. So I may or may not need some added smoothing cream. We'll talk about that if need be. Right now, I just want to put a little tiny bit of shape through here. So I'm going to put some back combing in here. My back combing is going to provide a couple different things. It's going to give me a little bit of volume. It's going to give me a little bit of shape. It's also going to give me some added control so that when I secure this back here, I have some control and movement and flexibility in the texture that I desire for my final look. So I'm just going to section out. I'm going to start right behind the part because I don't want any back combing necessarily on these sides because I don't want to create a square shape. I want the back combing to be isolated to the crown area, and then I want these sides to smooth and lay really nicely into my ponytail. So I'm going to start some back combing right behind my part. My very first section is nice and small. I'm keeping it really clean, and it's a triangle section because I'm coming right off of that part. So you can see how tiny that is right there. And I'm going to add a little bit of volume powder and then back home. I'm going to repeat this a few times. I'm not doing a ton of back combing, just a little bit, and I'm really isolating it in the first inch of the hairline, of the first inch of that strand. And that's because I don't want that back combing to come very far, but again, I just want some control and a little bit of shape. I don't want huge volume. Yeah, I'm done with that volume powder now, so I just drop that down, a little bit more back combing, and then just release that. So you can see right there, it's not huge by any means, which is what I want. I just want that control so that when I lay this hair back and secure it with my rubber band, secure it into the ponytail, that I have some movement and shape there. So I'm smoothing this out. I just don't want a flat crown. You know, I want that shape that goes from here to here, and then I want my ponytail to hit here, and then I want to create another bump. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of shape. Okay, so just a little bit. I'm just going to do a once over of some spray wax. And then with the back of my fork comb, I'm just going to work some of that product through the strand. And then my fork comb is also creating a little bit of texture, which I really like. So I want you to see that. You can see that shine that's being created right there. And then it's also creating just a little bit of texture. I don't want a ton of texture. You know, you obviously have creative freedom when you're creating this type of look. And so some people will desire it to be super sleek and tight. Some people will want a ton of movement, and some will just want a little bit. For this look today, I just want a little bit. I don't want it so sleek that you know, it's plastered to the back of the head. So you can see that right there. I'm just creating just a little bit of dimension in there by creating a few little ridges. And that's it. So now that that's in place, I'm going to leave that there for now. And I want to start securing my ponytails. Now we're going to create 2 ponytails. And again, that's just like I talked about in the beginning, that's going to help with weight distribution because I don't want anybody to get a headache. So I'm going to take this top section and I'm actually going to probably take roughly ear to ear. So right below the crown. And then I'm going to section this off from the back of the ear to the back of the ear. Okay, so we can see this section is obviously bigger. That's okay. All right, I like that amount. So first things first is we're going to secure this. Just be careful with the section that you already kind of created some shape in there, but you can still move this hair out of the way. Remember I said that she gets tangled so easily, so just comb that out. And I'm going to start placing that where I want it to go. I'm going to pull this up just a little bit higher so we can really see that part. We want to have a really clean section here. When we talked about earlier, when we were mapping out our look, we talked about where we want this ponytail to be. And so I want this ponytail to land right at the bottom of that crown area before the nape. Okay. So we're going to secure this with a rubber band and 2 bobby pins. So I'm just going to take my regular rubber band. I'm going to add 2 bobby pins onto it, just like that. I'm going to add a little bit of wax spray underneath because I want to keep this section really nice and clean. And then I'm going to use my fine tooth rat tail comb to smooth that product through. And then start pinching that section together. Pinching that section together. Once I'm happy with the placement, I'm going to close my fingers all the way around it. And then I'm going to insert my bobby pin. Make sure that it's right along the scalp. Wrap it under. Once you've created one full rotation, then feel free to let go of that ponytail and then just continue rotating that until you've ran out of elastic. Okay, perfect. Just like that. Great, and I like that placement. It's gonna be great. Give it a little pinch. I'm just kind of manipulating location. Good, now nice and clean. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the top section. We're gonna secure it into our ponytail. Now this ponytail is gonna sit right on top of this other ponytail. And you can see what's happening already is I'm getting another awesome result of doing 2 ponytails is I'm getting a thicker base here. So I'm going to have a wider and thicker base here. So it's going to look even fuller. Right, so first things first is detangle. And then as I'm detangling, I'm going to start working that hair towards the back. So hold the ponytail in your hands with your palm facing up, the back of your hand just resting right above that other ponytail that you just created. That's going to help you keep separation in between the two ponytails, but it's also going to give you control so that you can close and open as you're moving that hair towards the back, working it towards the section, or working it in the direction of where it will be secured. So now I'm going to take my rat tail comb, my fine tooth rat tail comb, and just start working that hair again. This requires quite a bit of patience, so just be patient with yourself. Be patient with the hair. Add some wax spray. Continue smoothing. Now, before we actually secure this ponytail, let's check our proportions. Now, we don't want to be flat right here. And since we put that back combing in there, you can take the back of your rat tail comb and you can give that a little bit of a lift. So release your hands and then just give that a little bit of a lift. Then you can take your metal fork comb and clean any of that. If you had anything, any hair move, if you want to clean the texture, then go ahead and do so. It's important around the ear area to discuss with your bride how she desires, if she desires her ears to show the tip of the top of the ear here, or if she likes it covered just a little bit. We're going to work up above the ear. So just use some wax spray and then smooth that section. That wax spray provides so much shine. So I'm doing the same thing to the other side here, just pulling that hair over the ear. Okay, I think we're ready to secure our second ponytail. So we'll take another rubber band and elastic. Before I do that, I just want to one more time smooth this section that's coming in, the very top section, because that is what's going to be visible on the top of your ponytail. So just give it a one more, just so that those hairs going in to that ponytail right there are going to be super clean. Okay, so put it in. Now we're going to wrap it underneath just like we did the other one. Grab it with that same hand. Don't let go with this hand yet until you've made a full rotation. Once you've made a full rotation, then feel free to let that go. Wrap it again. Just be sure that it's nice and secure. And then once you've completed that rotation, then pull tight. Check your proportions and any smoothing that needs to be done. I like the texture and the movement that's coming into the ponytail. There's a couple sections right here that I just want to give it a little bit of a pinch to release that hair, just so there's no divots in your look. But when you're pinching that hair, be sure to pinch it really, really lightly and really isolate the hair that you're pinching. You don't want to pinch a big section because you might pull out too much hair. And then, which wouldn't be a problem, you could still fix it, but you might have to, in order to fix it, you might have to release your ponytail and re-ponytail it, which is, it's fine. It's absolutely okay. I'm just redefining over by the ear here. Adding a little bit more wax spray. And then check proportions in the front. And any baby hairs that are sticking up, we can deal with those during our final tweaks. Okay, so now it's time to start working on our ponytail. So I'm going to use, for this look, I'm going to be using a 1-inch barrel. This is a long barrel, just the Babylist Pro. And I'm going to be using a 1-inch. I don't want to use anything smaller because I don't want too many rotations in this, because I want this to be a really nice, because this is considered a glam ponytail versus a classic party ponytail. I want to have that really sleek S shape throughout my ponytail. Therefore, I don't want too many different rotations because I don't want it to look too tight. Okay, so I'm going to work on the bottom section first because there's so much hair here and I just want to be sure that I have a lot of control. I'm going to very, very lightly clip this out of the way, and I say very lightly because you don't want to mess up all of your hard work at the top. Also, with my Tangle Teaser, I'm going to lightly now brush through this. And I say lightly and reiterate that because the last thing we want to do is like brush too hard and get it snagged on one piece of hair and then get a big old dent in all the areas that we just secured. So product for our curls. I'm going to be using my wet hairspray, and because she has a generous amount of hair and it's pretty coarse and holds a curl really well, I'm going to be applying my wet hairspray to a few different sections at a time, combing those through and then curling, instead of isolating my product to one section, combing that through, curling, then dropping that. Okay, so you'll see what I'm doing as I go. So maybe 3 or 4 sections, I'll be applying the product and then curling each of those sections before I move on. So I'm just going to split this ponytail in half, apply that product. I'm going to take my fine tooth rat tail comb and lightly comb through that. If you feel more comfortable using a wide tooth comb, just so that you don't mess up your sectioning up at the top, please do. Whatever feels best for you. Just be sure that you are distributing that product through and detangling that section before you're applying any curls. Now, each of these curls are going to be curled in the same exact direction because we're creating a glam wave. So I'm going to curl each of my curls towards the left, towards my left. And I'm just going to open up my barrel and wand these wand each of these. Okay, and you can see I have 3 really pretty coils. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to look awesome. That's exactly what we're looking for. I'm going to pull out my next section and continue the same technique. Getting as close to my elastic as possible. Hold that for a few seconds, release in your hand, and then let that drop. I'm going to add a little bit more product to the second half of this ponytail. So on the top, on the bottom, and then comb through that with just a wide tooth comb. Get all the tangles out, distribute that product evenly. I'm flat wrapping this hair around the barrel. I'll do 2 more sections here. Just be sure that your sections aren't too large. You want to have really nice even heat distribution so that you create a really consistent curl pattern so that when you comb it out and connect it all together, that it flows really nicely together. So again, I'm flat wrapping these curls. And the difference between flat wrapping and a twisted wrap is just that I'm not rotating my hand as I wrap the hair around the barrel. I'm keeping it flat each time, so you can see that it's nice and flat right here on those ends. All right, that ponytail is completed. So now we're going to really gently release this top section. Now there's a lot of hair here, and I like to keep my working area really clean. So because of that, I'm just going to go ahead and split this in half so that I have maybe even thirds. We might do 3 sections because I want my curls to be really consistent. And if I have too much hair in the way, then I'm not able to get as close to the beginning of my ponytail as I would like. So before I do anything, I'm just going to comb through this and detangle this and keep a really clean section to work with. Now I'm combing through this really, really lightly, just so I don't mess up any of the work that I've already done. That's it, totally detangled now. And so I'm going to split this in half, just like I did that bottom ponytail. Apply wet hairspray to the top, to the bottom, and then comb through again. Be sure you're using a fast drying wet hairspray. And we'll create about 3 curls in this section here. It just gives you an idea on how thick those curls are, or how thick those sections are. You don't want your section to be any thicker than the size of your barrel. So flat wrap And then I'm going to just roll that up as close to the ponytail as I can. And then release. Be sure that you are curling the hair each time in the same direction. Now we'll bring down another section. Make sure you're not messing anything up there at the top. And I'm going to split this into two sections because I really do want to have control. And I want consistent curls. So even if it's a little messy, I'm just working really slowly. I'll split that section in half, just like we've been doing. Wet hairspray on the top, on the bottom. Comb that through. One quick tip, if you have used hair extensions in your bride's hair to create this look, be sure that each time you're pulling a section that you are incorporating both the natural hair and the extension hair in each curl. That's going to help with curl longevity if the extension hair seems to hold better than the natural hair, which happens sometimes. So just be sure that you're curling those two together, and that's going to help hold the natural hair curl in that shape better than if the extension hair and the natural hair are separated into different curls. This curl's a little bit looser than these other curls, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the time to recurl that really quickly. If I do have an inconsistent curl when I start combing out these curls, it will be obvious and it will be visible. So if that happens for any reason, then just take the time to reshape the curl. All right, so let's add some pump spray, wet hairspray. Comb through it really gently. And then continue the same technique. Flat wrapping the curls. And just be sure that you're still rotating and wrapping the section around the barrel in the same direction. I'm just gonna smooth it right up as close to that elastic as possible, because we want that section, especially now that we're getting towards the top, you want that as smooth as possible. So if there's tangles in that strand, just get in there with your fine-tooth comb and comb those all the way out before you curl. Those are some bouncy curls, huh? Okay, our very last section. Okay, once that's all combed out, just double check your crown area. And then let's get this section curled. So again, I'm just gonna split it in half. Apply my pump spray on the top, then again on the bottom. Comb that through. Now this is a very top layer of your style. So that hair that's coming directly out of that ponytail, be sure that that hair is super smooth. So detangle that. Use a fine tooth comb and you can get really, really close to that ponytail. Now I'm going to hold this curl up at 90 degrees to actually wrap it around the barrel. That's going to give me a little bit more lift and volume coming right out of that elastic. So you can see that it just comes out this way a little bit more. I'm going to take the time to smooth this section right at the ponytail again, or at the elastic. Hold it at 90 degrees. Wrap your barrel underneath it, and then flat wrap that around the barrel. Hold for a few seconds and then release. Hold each of these sections at 90 degrees before you wrap them. Let's apply some more product over here. So across the top, underneath, detangle, comb through. And take my fine tooth rat tail comb and comb that through again, just to really smooth that section and distribute that product through. Make sure that it's 100% dry. And then wrap that section. Then release. And then just go ahead and do the same thing with the section below it. Next section, flat wrap. And let's split this into two. And these will be our two final sections. Okay, hold it at 90 degrees. Wrap it underneath. Be sure to flat wrap and be sure that each of those rotations are touching the barrel 100%. You're not overlapping your section as you're wrapping it around the barrel. That will give you inconsistent curls because the heat distribution will be different. Okay, last curl. We'll get that as close to that rubber band as possible, and then release. That's going to be such a pretty ponytail. We got all those curls. Awesome. Okay, now that we're all curled, and we're going to let those cool, and then I just want to go through and double check this area here just to be sure that nothing was pulled out of place. So use the side of your fork comb and just smooth out anything you want to smooth. Smooth it into the elastic, as close to the elastic as possible, because we will go in next and hide that elastic. Okay, so any type of texture. We'll use our wide tooth comb to first start combing these out. So I recommend lifting up that top section. You can just kind of push it out of the way with your hands, hold it over your arm, and then start combing through these. And don't be afraid to really get in there and comb through them. We want them smooth. We want them to start joining together. So continue to comb, comb, comb. I like to use a wide tooth comb first because, again, it just detangles. All right, now that that one's done, then let's start down at the ends. Continue holding that hair in your hand because you're putting pressure on it here so that it's not dragging from up here all the way through. You can start seeing that shape forming. I have a little bit of hair under here that hasn't been combed out, so I'm just going to lift that hair out of the way. I'll hold it out of the way with my arm. Now I'm being sure that I'm getting that comb all the way through so that it's sticking out the bottom, so that I'm combining all of those curls together right now. I'm going through both ponytails at this point. Never letting go of the ponytails. Always continuing to hold them and keep them in place. Support those ponytails. Okay, so you can see that shape is already there. It's perfect. But now we need to get some volume in there because what we want to see from the profile is really, really sleek and then a big poofy ponytail right there. So how do we do that? We need to back comb all of this to give it some really awesome volume. So grab your volume powder and don't be afraid to use a generous amount. And we're just going to go through section by section at this point and spray that volume powder. And then take your rat tooth comb and back comb. Now I don't like to drop it. I like to pick up my next section and hold them together. So add more volume powder. And you really want your back combing to be at that first poof, that very first rotation, okay? So maybe 3 to 4 inches up the strand. At this point, we don't need to go any higher. Lift up another section. They don't have to be super tiny sections as you're lifting them up and back combing. Really getting that volume powder in between those sections so that you get that volume in between those sections, especially as close to that elastic as possible. That's going to help your style and your ponytail not collapse. I'm really getting in there. Okay, now I'm going to connect a little bit of my first ponytail with my second ponytail. And I'm going to connect them together in this section so that they start becoming one section. So that back combing will really connect them together so that they're one section. All right, and then I'm going to split that last one. All right, now drop it all and then let's smooth this all out. And you can also see from the side here, now the ponytail is connected right here. So you do see the gap here between the two ponytails, but in terms of the hair, we connected it together. That's a really important technique. I'm going to take my fork comb and I'm going to pinch at the very top where the elastic is, and then I'm going to start smoothing this out with my fork comb. More work to smooth out the top section on the side here and make sure that those look really nice and connected. Now down here at the bottom, we don't have back combing in the second half of this ponytail. It's up here at the top. So it's okay to comb, to insert the prongs through the entire section and connect those back together because they were separated when we sectioned out those sections to back comb. All right, now that that side section is nice and clean, I'll go ahead and rotate and check the top. And we'll go to the other side. You can see it's quite a mess over here. So just slowly start cleaning up the top layer. You want to keep as much back combing in there as possible because that's going to help hold the volume and hold your ponytail so that it doesn't collapse. But you want it to look really nice and sleek and clean on the outside. So only smooth that very top section. Okay, that's really coming together. Now I want to connect all of this down here together. So I'm going to take my wide tooth comb again. Now I'm going to hold this section so that I have control over it and comb just the bottom. So I'm going underneath. I'm only combing the last few inches because that's where that back combing hasn't been applied there. Right now it's time for some product and final tweaks. So let's use some wax spray all over to add some shine and some control and start really carving out. All right, so now that we have a lot of that shape in place, now we need to hide our elastic. And this two ponytail technique, there's another reason why I just love it so much. Once we wrap that hair around the ponytail, it's actually going to make our ponytail look much thicker than if it was just this one ponytail. So let's grab a pretty good size section of hair, because you want it to look really full and fluffy going around that ponytail, hiding those elastics. So I'm just going to comb through that section. You add a little bit of wax spray to that section so it's smooth some of those flyaways. And then we're just going to wrap that around. Lift that up. And continue wrapping. I'm giving it a little bit of a twist just so for some visual interest, but you really can flat wrap it all the way around, whatever you want. And then just kind of pull tight on it once you get it in place. And then let's just secure that. So keep a closed pin and then take a little bit of that that hair that you wrapped, and then hook that in right next to the scalp. And we'll take these ends and just tuck them in. So move that hair away from that a little bit and then just tuck that underneath, and then that larger section will pin right next to the scalp. So just take your closed bobby pin, take a little bit of that section, and then just wiggle that in. If it needs an extra pin underneath, just to make sure that there's no gap here, then just go ahead and do so. Just take your pin, don't open it, grab a little bit of that section, and then run that up right along the scalp so that that closes that gap. And you can see how full that ponytail looks now versus it being a really tiny ponytail. And so I really like that technique. Now you can just do your final tweaks. You can make this as fluffy as you want. You can make it as sleek as you want. You really have just creative freedom at this point within what you and your bride discuss. I like to just pull a couple pieces apart once it's all finished up, just so we have a couple, you know, like really nice pieces, like ribbony pieces laying across the top. I just think that that's kind of fun. Totally not necessary. You could keep it all really, really sleek and together. So I'll just kind of show you this option, and then I'll also show it to you really, really sleek, just so you can see the two options. A nice once over with a workable spray or finishing spray just to hold everything nicely in place. And we can take it for a spin. So really sleek across the front, really full. Now, if you're dealing with any flyaways up here, you can use a smoothing cream just to smooth those out, or you can use a pomade that works really well just to keep this really nice and smooth. You can see just that really full, gorgeous ponytail. Just as a quick bonus, I want to show you, now that we have such a beautiful structured ponytail, I want to show you a little bit of a smoother ponytail. So we're just going to go through and take out a lot of this back combing and smooth this and give it even a softer finish. So I'm going to take my tangle teaser and I'm going to start at the bottom and just start working those curls through that tangle teaser. So I'm being sure to hold the ponytail, and then I'm almost using my model's back to really work through those sections so that all of that hair is connected together again without that back combing. So I'm not taking out all of the back combing, but I'm taking out a good majority of it. And you can see already it's just a softer, it's a softer curl pattern. It's not so structured and poofy. So it will still have really great volume, but it will be like a more casual volume versus so structured and in place. So a little bit more wearable, a little bit more natural. Going in and combing all of this hair. Have you ever run into an issue where you created it a little bit more structured? Maybe that's exactly how the inspiration was, the inspiration photo was, and that's what you did. And they're like, oh, it's just a little bit too perfect. You know, I wanted a little bit more like a casual ponytail, but with that curl pattern still in it. This is a great way to adjust and kind of change the overall aesthetic of just the ponytail. It does take some patience, so just be patient. Now my model has really, really coarse, thick hair. So obviously I have a little bit more freedom with my curls because they hold really well. If you're working with finer hair, lower density, then I do recommend being a little bit more careful and conscientious about how much you comb through those curls because they may collapse. You might elongate them too much, and then if they collapse, you're going in and you're having to recurl. So, just pay attention to the texture of the hair before you go in and too roughly comb through comb through your curls. Now I'm putting my hand underneath to support the entire ponytail and just smoothing out the top. Now I'm almost done kind of reshaping these curls, and so at this point I want to give that nice poof at the very top, but I want it to be pretty smooth. And then you can structure that however you want at the top. So you can see it's just a much smoother look. There's no right or wrong way to do it. I think it just comes down to personal preference and communicating and with your bride and asking what she desires, and then knowing the tools and techniques in order to create that. And that's what this is for. I just give it a little bit of fluff. And then you can see just a softer curl. Less structured. There you have it. Two different looks. Totally, totally same technique in order to create them, just deciding on what you want your finished look to look like.